Everybody, welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. All right, guys. So, I've got to harvest. Not something I look forward to. Be honest with you, it's one of the least enjoyable aspects to being an MMOer. But most games, you do have a tendency to have to harvest in order to craft. You need these things called mats, or short for materials. And in Final Fantasy 14, they make at least harvesting nice because everything as far as individual mats are spread out throughout Eorzea or the extended continents. So you have your gathering log. So when you level up, it will actually give you the location of the material that you need to gather for said recipe, which is nice. It's really nice because it's like if you didn't have this, trying to find the nodes would be a pain in the ass. So for example, I need Midland cabbage and I have to go to the Northern Shroud, which I'm at, and then I need to find outer springs. So once I'm here, I have to kind of zoom in and locate my destination. Okay, you can kind of zoom out right here. So we're right here is going to be the outer springs. And if it's too far away, you can actually hit control and right click. And you can set a marker. Okay. Now also you want to make sure that you have your... So I need to switch to a botany. Once I switch here, I want to make sure this icon is up. So it indicates on the mini map where my nodes are. Okay, very important. You'll also see that there's other nodes. So I have a tendency to also want, when I'm harvesting one item, I'll gather multiples just in case while I'm out. So right here is all the stuff I need. Now what's really nice too is we have Blessed Harvest once you level up. So I can go ahead and activate this and it'll increase what I'm gathering. And I usually go between 50 to 100 on the nodes as I'm harvesting. Now the fastest way to get between nodes, I mean it doesn't seem like they're very spread far out, but I always mount because they actually are. And if you're trying to get there faster, it's just best to mount and get there. Now if you're at a low level and the mobs are around you, like say that level, that scorpion over there is a level 25, you have stealth. It will hinder your speed, but you'll be able to harvest and the creatures won't attack you. But if you're higher level, they won't aggro at all. So that's kind of nice if you're going back through and you're just harvesting stuff at a lower level and you don't have to worry about that. And now this is going to be pretty much like, almost like a boring stream today. Well, at least until reset. I'll grab some of those leeches, some of those peas. You know, see over there, the golden one's like wood, and the silver leaves are usually vegetation. And if you see up here in the right corner of the harvesting, you'll see it'll say quantity. So I have 18 regular and 4 rare or well, I don't even know how they list it. Let me see. It's just a better version of it. It's like, I don't even know what they call it, but a supreme version of the cabbage. Now there's usually nodes you'll be able to hit 4 times, but there's typically one node that around the area that you can strike 5 times. So you kind of want to pay attention when you're striking these, which one is yielding the 5th node. So when you're using that blessed harvesting, you can maximize an additional pull. Now there's seeds that'll drop that'll be rare, so I'll usually grab those. You can sell those, or if you have a house, grow your own vegetables. So that's 3, 4. So there's 4 strikes on that one. I think it's going to be this top one that's 5th. It might not be one, but now also what I'll do here, if I'm going to be gathering anything else, sometimes I'll just hit that and then go from here. 2, 3, 4. There's my 5th one. So this farther point is my node that's going to yield 5. Oh, little hill. Seeds again. Okay. Yeah, get over the rock. Now you do want to make sure you have enough room in your bags when you go out harvesting, because bag space your inventory can fill up pretty quick. I usually keep around 30, 35 open. Now, we're always going to remember that this furthest point is our 5 striker for blessed. Okay. Now once I usually get about 50, then I'll start harvesting other mats while I'm here, just so I don't have to come back if I have a new recipe that requires these mats. Now, the thing about what's crazy, especially like I'm obviously gathering for culinary, is some of these mats, even at a lower level, will be required in higher level recipes. So you just can't assume, well, I just out leveled that mat. I don't need it anymore. I'll just get rid of it. It's not necessarily the best thing. You can go to different websites and make sure that you aren't going to use those mats and then sell them if you'd like. Or you can have, if you have enough retainer space, just bank your culinary mats. Now, the thing about vegetation is used typically for three types of crafting: culinary, weaving, and alchemy. Even if you're never going to craft, there are players who will use the market and buy their mats if it's a reasonable price. But I am kind of not, I don't have a lot of money or gil. So obviously it's in my best interest to go ahead and gather my own resources at this particular moment. But just keep in mind, if you're going to be a crafter as well, you can go ahead and then purchase mats if you don't want to harvest them. That's what makes the economy nice in this game, because each crafting system actually utilizes each other's skill sets in one way or another for components and such. I also have a sprint just in case I were to get into combat, or I'm like, oh, it's just right there. Okay, second time I come back through, then I'll use this for my blessed harvesting. Okay. We come up here and I can use my blessed harvesting again. Okay, now I'm just going to get some eggplants, a few eggplants, and then we'll call it. If you do need, keep in mind, elemental shards are catalysts that are required by every crafting profession. So if you do need shards, I do also suggest that you gather shards while you're out, especially if you're needing specific type of shards. Please pay attention to that as well. It's kind of important. Okay. It's riveting, I'm telling you. Okay. Yep. And then... Alright. Now, every time you cook, you usually, almost all the time, you make 3 units. So, just simple, you know. Make 1, multiply by 3. How many is going to be set? Okay, now I'll finish off with the leeches, and then we'll open up. Not much, man. Living the life and harvesting. So I just checked my recipe. I need Corinthian carrots, so I got to go to Western and Horizon's Edge. Yay! So I'm gonna obviously take the easy way. So I'm gonna scroll down to Western. We're gonna go to Horizon's Edge. Gather up. So I'm trying to get my culinary up. I'm trying to level actually all my crafting, but my culinary. I'll make this recommendation. If there's only one crafting you're ever going to get into, I do recommend getting into the culinary. Why? Because end game food is expensive. It is ungodly expensive. Now, the same thing's going to apply. I want to make sure I'm waiting to find my 5 strike node, what I like to call 5 strike node. Now, water shards, like I said, pay attention to shards if because they're catalyst. That's what you want to do. But like right here, while I'm here, I might be picking up. I won't pick up the Moko or the rye. Those are things I can get pretty easy. But the grass viper and the carrots sometimes can be a little bit a pain in the arse. You might be able to pick up viper on a vendor, but I don't think carrots can be typically. And once again, seeds. I'll pick up seeds. Okay. It should go away. Oh, well. Pick up a bunch of them. These ones are pretty cheap. So that's probably why they're pretty like common for a seed. Alright. Not doing that anymore. I got seeds. I need carrots. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's my 4th strike. I don't know if this one has a 5 because I think it's only a 3 node and not a 4 node. Most of your nodes are like 4 nodes, but I do think this one's a 3 node. But if you have a 4 node, there's always one that has a 5 striker. Like carrot seeds. I'll pick this up every day. That's rare. That's 2. That's 3. This one should be the 4th and gone, right? So 4 strikes. So there's only like 3 nodes associated. So I'll use my blessed harvesting once again. Now on my blessed, I'll pick up the viper. This is used for alchemy. The Moko grass is used for weaving. So keep in mind, weaving, alchemy, and culinary are used for botany or for vegetation. Same thing like with trees. Trees is usually used for woodworking, culinary, and alchemy as well. Oh, I didn't want to do that one. Now, once again, I'll probably pick up around 50. And I like to get between 50 to 100, depending on, you know, my patience or what I'm trying to do. I don't like to make multiple trips. So either I'll bank the additional mats, right? Or you can sell them. But like I said, in culinary in this game, you will typically find that lower mats, such as this, you will utilize again in recipes. So you can, like I said, you can go to different websites, do the research, and make sure, like when you're leveling or you're crafting, what materials you're going to be utilizing. This is just really important basic stuff. Like most games, you don't see this. You don't see where you're going to use a item that you harvest at level 3 in a level 40 or 50 recipe. You typically don't see that in a majority of games. It's just they have specifically different mats associated. Not in this game. This game, it's like you'll gain mats and they stand alone, or you need to even make components from mats. So sometimes you need the raw form of that material, or you need to make a component from that material and utilize it in a recipe. This makes crafting in this game really, I think that's why a lot of players appreciate the crafting system in this game. It's not so cookie, it's like it has its slight cookie cutter element to it, but at the same time, they made it to the point where it's like nothing goes to waste. Nothing is like dead and gone. Like, you can never say that you're never going to utilize that mat or that material again in this game. I appreciate that, like, especially when it comes to like blacksmithing and smelting. So a lot of times I have to smelt an ore with another ore to make a metal. And that's my component, right? Is those different types of ore. Like for bronze or brass, for example. So I need tin and copper to make brass. And I find it pretty unique. I'll be honest. That's refreshing, to be honest with you. And the simple fact that crafting in this game plays it, even though the game is linear, and it is, this game is linear, the crafting still plays an important role. So it's not just, oh, okay, well, we'll make crafting, but we'll make it just so it's like a side thing. Like, it's not going to have relevance to, like, you know, the raiders and things like that. I mean, if they want extra bag space or something, sure. But in this game, it's like, no, you want to get into your crafting. You want, or know a crafter, or save a lot of money. Because when crafters craft gear, it's usually up until you get your next best in slot. So, or crafting can become best in slot. It's so weird in this game. So, in that element, and I guess that's why I appreciate it. Because there's sometimes, like, if you're looking for a weapon and you need to get a, you know, upgrade your weapons or acquire a weapon to upgrade, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I can get a crafted weapon. Now I can do my raid, get that component to upgrade my crafted weapon. It's very little things like that just play an important roles in MMOs. How, you know, how players acquire materials and gear. All right, almost done. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get some Grass Viper. A little bit more. It's for my alchemy. Scott, what's up, dude? How you guys doing? Doing the crafting. Yay. Yay, I'm gathering. It's so exciting. But, you know, it's It has its every game has purpose with it, right? You just can't chalk it up and say, "Oh, I'll be good." No, no. We've got to do it. Now, I'll get like a couple more, and then I'll check my my recipe, making sure. And I think I need leeks. I haven't even attempted crafting yet. So much MSQ to do. Right, right. You know what, though? I mean, I think we came in at a perfect time because we don't have to chase our end game gear at this particular moment. It's like this is something that we can play catch up at our own pace. You can set your goal. You can, have enough a time to meet that goal. Don't get overwhelmed. Obviously, that's one of those key things that you got to keep in mind. You don't want to get burn out. But for me, I know that I might not. There's like 3 or 4 things I might not get done, but I want I have my goal set. Like right now, I want to make sure that I'm getting. Oh, I should have just hit that. Same, haven't touched crafting or of any kind. Explain farming a little. Why does each node have many different components? I just went over that. So basically, for example, I'm going through vegetation. Vegetation applies to 3 different forms of crafting. So, for example, and let me go to this node and explain this. Okay, now seeds, you can acquire seeds. They're rare. Some are common. But seeds, when you have a house, you can grow your own plants and harvest those plants at your house. So, but they do have a limitation to them. But it's kind of nice that you can, grow your own plants and harvest them. But like rye here is used to make flour for what? Making a component to, for culinary. So you need to get this to use as a component. Moko grass is used for weaving, right? So we have culinary, we have weaving, and then on top of it, grass viper here is a component or a material used in alchemy. So this is actually you get the viper and then you secrete it to make another component in alchemy. So every node typically is associated with 3 forms of crafting. That's why you see even fishing. Fishing is used in alchemy, and fishing is only used in alchemy and culinary, typically. I do think there's something else that maybe you can use down the road, if I'm not mistaken. But usually each node has 3 different types of association to the crafting. Now, shards. Different nodes will have different elemental shards, and shards are catalysts in crafting. Without shards, you can't craft. They don't yield a lot of XP, but you're always guaranteed usually to, get the shards. Now, you can get bonuses when you strike shards. Also, some dungeons, if you see elementals, like, water elemental, fire elemental, those drop shards as well. So there's multiple ways to acquire your shards, but typically nodes will yield the most, or you can use your retainers. Now keep in mind, if you're using retainers to go out and harvest for you, or hunt for you, or gather for you, or fish for you, they will not touch they cannot gather a material you haven't found yet. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So once again, I'm high enough, I'm going to hit that blast, and I'm going to, now I get 2 grass vipers for every successful grab instead of just 1. So I'll go ahead and do that. Then I open up my mat again. So we have my cabbage, I have my pike, my gelatin's at my thing, so I need, and I have oil over here. So I need salt leeks. That's what I'm needing right now. So I want to go ahead and open my gathering log. Gathering log is important because when you level, it'll tell you, hey, by the way, here's where you find that material, where you find it at. Okay, so I need to go to East and Bloodshore. Okay, so once again, I'm going to do the fast travel. And I want to say it's near Wineport, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll usually, like I said, I'll gather between 50 to 100 because I don't want to go out. And then I'll gather other components while I'm out because I know since I'm here, I might as well get other materials. So, want to look for Bloodshore. And the one thing that sucks about this, oh, it's on the other side. No problem. So I'm going to, I took Wineport, but I want to go to Coastal. Actually, I wish you could do that. I keep thinking, so I want to go to Coastal. Farming mats can be like, it's not fun. Farming mats is not fun. But one thing, and I was just saying before you jumped in, Scott, I appreciate how they did it in this game. And the reason being, most crafting in most games, I like how crafting is so viable in this game. Right. That's exactly it. You know, when you out-level, typically in games, when you out-level something, I know where this is, I believe. It's right between, maybe not. I want to say it's up north. Right. Yeah, it should be right here, right here, right here. This should be it. Now, the nodes are very specific in this game. But here's another thing, too. If there's another player that comes up to me, I'm not fighting them for a node. Your nodes are individualized, right? So you basically, there can be 10 people gathered around me. They're not going to hit my node. They have their own node. They're separated. So it's amazing in that way. Like, I don't have to compete for a node. Ever in this game. And I feel like that's really good because the problem is a lot in the Mandrake. That is really important for me. So I will be gathering up Mandrake. Once again, I want to pay attention to a 5-striker. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll be a 4-strike. I may just mess around and start crafting, but I think I will just start with one at a time. Right. And that's what I was saying. If you're not going to get into crafting a lot, culinary is probably one of the biggest ones. So I'm going to try to find my 5-striker. 1, 2, 3. That's going to be a 4. Okay, so it's probably my furthest one. That'll be my 5-striker. Because when I use my Blessed Harvesting, I want to make sure I'm utilizing it on my 5-striker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the furthest point is my 5-strike, and that's the one I'm going to use my Blessed Harvesting on because all the other ones are associated 4-strike. So if you see node formations, there's usually 4 nodes associated in an area. All will have a 4-strike, which will equivalent to 12 hits, but one will yield a 5-hit strike. And if you use it with the Blessed Harvesting, you can yield up to 10. I think I may do culinary. It seems like you make good money. Yeah, culinary makes a lot of good money, and food is expensive. And there's reasons because of it. Certain materials, you know, especially components, you have to get materials to make components, and then you have to get raw material, and then, of course, you have to have your shards and your catalyst. So I know that furthest one is going to be my 5-striker, and I'll use my Blessed Harvesting on that. I will get some pepper and basil. The Mandrake is used in alchemy. And once again, now what I'm going to do, I'm harvesting my leeks particularly, But when I'm going to do my blast, I'm going to utilize this on my Mandrake because I know I want my Mandrake. Now I'm getting 2 per, 3, 4, and my 5. And now I just acquired 10 Mandrake because of my 5th, my 5 striker. So keep in mind, anytime you see a node formation, and there's 4 nodes associated, which is typical, one is going to be a 5 strike node. You just have to find it. When you find that 5th strike node, that's best to use for your blessed harvesting or any other one that will yield more than 1 per strike of the node. And once again, I'll probably get up to about 50. And then I'll get some Midland Basil. I'll get some Dragon. I won't worry about getting 50 of those. I'm not really too worried about all that. The rare components yield better results in your crafting. The higher levels you get. So basically they boost, they amplify any crafted sets you wear. And also that's how, like later on when you get different sets, how you make, you know, those forbidden slots. That's why people will tell you crafted sets can be best in slot in this game, depending on the craft. It's not always a guarantee and you can fail. So just a heads up. So crafting, what I really like it. I'm enjoying. I don't like harvesting. It's not one of my favorite things to do, but I enjoy they have a simplistic but effective model to the crafting system. And one of the things is there is some RNG element with some skill sets that is applied to the craft. And I think that's what makes it. The only crafting system, Elder Scrolls is my favorite crafting because it's viable. It's end game viable. Like you can have a viable crafted setup in Elder Scrolls in the end game. So I love that better than any linear system. What I love about this crafting system, it takes me back to Vanguard. Vanguard had a much more complex crafting system. But literally, you wanted to be a crafter in Vanguard, right? Because that's how you just like Elder Scrolls, that's how you upgraded your drop gear. The problem of it is, if you didn't do it right, you lost it. You lost what was established, what you had gotten. So your drop piece that you was waiting maybe weeks for, and you wanted to upgrade it, you could lose it. You could lose it if you fucked your craft up. And that's what made Vanguard so awesome, yet the most irritating elements. I'm not even worried about that. That's a seed, because I just hit my bless. Now that's the only time I'll pass up on a seed is on my 5 striker. If a seed drops on a 5 strike, I won't get it. Typically. Yeah, but culinary does make really good money as well because of the expense of the food. A lot of people don't want to be crafters. Okay. Now once I get this, then I'll start getting maybe like some basil. And then I'll grab some peppers. A few. Not a lot, because it's not what I'm working on specifically with my recipe at this particular moment, but I definitely I can't afford to ignore, while I'm out here, grabbing additional mats. Like I said, if I need shards, I would. When you highlight, now if you take a look in the upper corner, it'll say the quantity. So in my harvesting box in the upper corner, I don't have to open my inventory or do any of that. It actually has a counter on it, which is nice and convenient. You don't pull aggro from enemies when you harvest. You do if you are a lower level. So if I was a 31, I wouldn't want to be out in the open. But since I level, since crafting has, or harvesting and crafting have their own level, if I'm above the level of the mobs, they won't aggro. Now, if, like, say I'm a 31, I want to use my stealth. And now they can't see me, but it hinders my movement. So I can walk up to a node, right? So basically, I unstealth, I run up to a node. I see if there's any mobs around that can pull. Like, say if there's a mob there, I want to go ahead and stealth. I don't want it to see me. I don't want it to aggro. And while I'm stealth, I can still harvest. So that's why you have stealth in this game. It's the only time that, you know, like, I feel that this is a really good thing because it slows down your progression to a degree, and it does. But it does help. But once you out-level that area, there's another person. Like, see, this person's harvesting. Is prime example here. I can't get their node. See, their node is not affected by my node. We're harvesting the same vegetation. Like, this is a prime example. They're walking up to a same node spawn, but their spawn is not the same. So I'm still going to get 4 strikes. So are they. See? We don't affect each other's farming, which is awesome. That, to me, is like another good reason. I got my black chocobo last night. What? How'd you get your black chocobo? Oh, the flying one. I'm like, what? Did you get the die one? I was getting all like pumped up. Okay. So I got 5 more points. Oh, wait. Okay. Bingo. I'm going to check that Mandrake. Mandrake's a little low. Once again, the seed's there. I don't give a shit about that seed. I do give a shit about this Mandrake, though. And you can fail on a gather. Your gathers are not always guaranteed to be successful. So heads up, when you're leveling, there will be a lot of misses. So I'll grab a couple more basil, grab a few dragon peppers, and then we'll go craft up my new recipe. I can do it in the middle of the thing, but... Now, anytime I have excess, I usually do put it in the guild bank. So if you guys are also going to be getting into crafting, please feel free to check the guild bank out, because those materials are for your convenience. Because I would rather have my guildies utilize them than sell them for profit. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to get you guys to be... Not everybody has hours to put into a game. They just don't have the time to do that. So being aware of that, I would rather make sure that if I'm out and I have an excess of something, that I'm going to go ahead and put it towards a good cause. Jack, what's up? How you doing today, brother? I'm doing boring stuff called harvesting. Hope all's going well, brother. Okay, so I have a pretty good amount of basil. I'll hit one more, and then I'll get some peppers. And then we'll get one more strike on that 5-hit node for the Mandrake. So we got about 30 basil, which I'm comfortable with. 1 second. David, what's up, man? How you doing today? My grandkids are here, so you might hear them in the background. All right, so I think I'll have to make one more full trip before I get that my blessed harvesting back up. But I definitely want to get that mandrake hit up. But like I said, we'll grab some dragon peppers. A few dragon peppers will be fine. I always... Yeah, today's my wife's birthday. We're actually 2 years and a few days apart. So, just a heads up, I love my wife. Happy birthday, honey. It's on here forever. Now, this isn't my 5, so... Now, if you want to go ahead and increase, what I typically do will use the Floral Mastery. It'll increase my percentage, especially if I haven't unlocked it yet. Now I got it. All right. All right. Just working, playing around with the ESO Builder app. Nice. Yeah, you know, it's amazing what apps can do these days. They make things nice and convenient. I love certain apps. Certain apps I'm like, but certain apps, you know, definitely. You're just like, oh my God, thank God for this app. All right, so we're still a little short. This is my 5 node. So typically I don't hit this on whatever, but I'm not too worried about it because I'm just getting dragon peppers. And when I come back around, I'll get the rest of those mandrakes. Now remember, in culinary, you make 3 per 1. So for every 1, you're going to make 3. And I will be demonstrating that very shortly. So just a heads up. All right. Now, it's funny because Black Desert actually has oh, wrong. It's fine. Black Desert has a crazy, and I mean crazy crafting system. Very detailed, but pointless as fuck. Never met a game that had literally like such a gap. Like it's important to upgrade, but after that you're like, oh, what? You get a little frustrated with those things. Like in this game, like literally by upgrading it, it's a 10-point difference between this and your best in slot. But unless you get your extra crafted slot for your material, and then it's like equivalent almost or best. So that's why I like the crafting system currently in this game. Once again, Blessed Harvest, Mandrake, and then we're going to call it. We're going to rip it back. That's why I like it. But my favorite crafting system is probably Elder Scrolls for endgame purposes. It's the best game that has viable endgame crafting completely because it's open-ended. But I feel like they did a good job here. They did a really good job. Like World of Warcraft crafting, junk. Like, it's junk. Like World of Warcraft crafting has always been a joke. Alright. So, I'm going to open up my mats. So I have my salt leak because I got clove oil back at the place and I have gelatin back at my banker. So I know that I have majority of these components. I'm going to go ahead and return back to Gridania. We're going to go ahead and grab these materials and we're going to craft up some stuffed cabbages. I don't like the fact that we're also on our knees while we're crafting. I don't like that. I wish our workstations were up, to a knee, like we're sitting down and not being one kneed. I don't like that, but that's just a preference thing. It's whatever. I feel like I'm subjugated if I'm on my knee. The fact that your stuff can be destroyed while upgrading your stuff in BDO is just a damn mess. Right. Yeah, the RNG can be fucked. Trust you and me, I've done it. Yeah. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take a look at my recipe. I need gelatin and I need clove oil. So, Fioma is where most of this is stuffed. So I want to find my clove oil, olive oil, lavender, dark vinegar. I could have swore my clove oil was on her. Might be on my other one. My gelatin's right here. I will be getting that. Jesus, I hope I have clove oil. Oh, right there. So there's my clove oil. So I have my gelatin and my clove oil now. Now, what I'm going... Oh, accidentally hit that button. Okay, so now I'm going to open up, and I cannot synthesize anything. Now I'm going to expand this for a minute. I cannot quick synthesize anything until I've done it by myself the first time. So, oh yeah, I got to switch to culinary. That might help. So I'm going to switch to my culinary, and then I'm going to use my synthesize. Now, typically, you have 80 points in the durability, and I have 224 crafting points that can be used to enhance the quality. But typically, I don't care about that until I learn to hit, or I'm trying to make a very specific recipe using high quality items. So I have a few points, and for example, if I wanted to increase the quality, I could do that. Okay, so basically Great Strides doubles the effect of your next touch, and your standard touch increases the quality, and then you have other touches that you will unlock later on that, like Hasty Touch increases the quality, no CP. Okay, but I don't want to fail this, so I'm going to go ahead and, but it's an example. So I've crafted now 3. So I've crafted 3. Now remember, like I said, shards are catalyst. If I don't have these shards, I'm going to have 6 fire shards. I have to have 5 water shards for catalyst. But now I can quick synthesize because I have 7 northern pike. So now I can go ahead, if I want, I'll use the high quality because I have a high quality pike. Now I can just go ahead, set that to 8 and synthesize. So if you're going, that's why you want to harvest as much as possible. By doing this, you're able to synthesize and level up faster, so you're not manually doing it. Now you can go ahead and clean up a little bit of your house. You can set this up for 99 at a time. And some of them take a little longer, so you can set up 99 if you have the components and literally walk away for a few minutes and do some stuff while you're like messing with your crafting. Now you do have a chance of failing, so I haven't failed yet. It could happen. Might not. I only need 2 more and I level, so I hope I don't fail. But I did. There's my fail. Oh my god. I jinxed myself. But that can happen. Failed the second one. But, so now I've just crafted my food. And I open up my inventory. And now my stuffed cabbage is there. So I successfully created 7 of those, yield 3 per. Now I have stuffed cabbage. So now I have a level 45 food. Now I can decide whether or not to utilize that food, right, to keep it and use it. This is more, vitalization and critical and direct. So this is a DPS food. So what I also can do is sell it, right? And once again, we don't have typical marketplaces. We have retainers who sell items for us. So let's say I go to Rectus. For every retainer, you can sell up to 20 items, right? It's kind of nice. I can go ahead and say, you know what, I'm just going to sell this. I'm not going to use it. It's, it's okay. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to put up for sale. Now, once again, very important, I want to compare the price before I list because I can adjust. Now, it's going on a low for 400 per, 5, and then somebody's selling them for 1,000, 4,000. But I have quite a bit here. And I can probably sell it for 400 and not undercut and still retain this profit pretty good. So what I want to go ahead and do is now X out the market price, and I'm going to set it for 400 per. Right? It will adjust it, and then we can confirm. And now I'm selling my entire stuffed cabbage, 21 of them, for 8,400. So somebody buys this, I'm going to make 8K from that. Same thing with seeds now. So I've also harvest seeds. So let's take a look at the carrot seeds, for example. So we're going to go ahead, put it up for sale. We're going to compare the prices first. They're only going for 1 gold per, right? No biggie, but say, I don't want them in my bag. They're gone. Get rid of them. Now we're going to also take a look at the eggplants. We're going to put this up. We're going to compare the prices. They're going for 2. I'll say keep it at that price. It'll adjust it to the lowest price. I don't have to make any adjustments. Get rid of it. I don't have a house. I'm not worried about it. Same thing with cabbage seeds. We take a look, compare the prices. These are expensive. Now see how high the cabbage seeds are? 5,000 per. Now to me that's overpriced. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undercut that by 3,000 per. And somebody's going to buy all that. So by doing this, I'm making 9K now. So just harvesting alone, I'm going to yield a 9K profit just from harvesting. Just from harvesting. That's just it. What'd you do? Oh, I went harvesting. I found some seeds. Let's take a look at the basil. Okay, the basil's not going for very much. 102. I'm comfortable with the 102 price. I feel that's adjusted. Everybody else is kind of setting up a little high. Actually, I feel like I get a little bit more because these guys only have 1. This guy has 3. I have 3. Our 4. I can probably go to about a 500 cost per. So now I'm going to make 2K. Roughly. Just for selling that. And this is what I do. And then I can also adjust the prices, which is really nice. So my Time War leather map, that usually goes pretty good. So I'm going to adjust it, but it hasn't sold. It's probably because somebody's undercutting me, and they are. So guess what I can do? Without any additional cost associated, except end sale, I can just go ahead and bring down that price. So there I just adjusted my price without having to pull it from my market. So a lot of games, what you have a problem with is you put something on the market and it has a time duration. I have no duration on my market in this game. If I put it up, it stays there until either it's sold or I pull it, and that's it. Now, because of that also, I can adjust the prices whenever I feel like it. So if something's been sitting on my shelves for too long, I adjust the price to get rid of it or just pull it together. So that's another really nice feature about this game. That's why I just wanted buy top tier crafted sets in BDO and just jump the character with Biss. My crew will fight in a pack, right? Well, the Node War is really cool, but there's such a gap. That's my problem with the crafted sets in Black Desert. That's my only problem. There's such a huge gap. But yeah, there's money to be made in this game if you're going to be a, harvester. Harvesting, even if you're not going to craft, if you're just going to be a harvester, you can make so much money just like checking the markets and seeing what people are really, what they're needing. So I did have some salt leaks. Oh, well. So I'll go ahead. I'll put them in there. We have some dragon peppers. That one's full. I don't think I have carrots on here, but that's fine. I'll deposit anything I can. I always check. Well, that's not going to work because my oil and gelatin go back there. And then I can sort these out if they're not laid out right. So that's another thing I really like. So, and then, like I said, they just stack, so I don't have to keep fussing with it. It's like, okay. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind here is your greens for your chocobos. Chocobos need greens. You have to feed your chocobo. Most of us know this. So if a lot of people are like, well, I got the quest done, but I can't pull out my chocobo. Well, you need your greens to pull out the chocobo. So that's another reason why harvesting comes in handy if you're going to use your companion. If you're going to use companion, chocobo as a companion, make sure you have your greens. I don't think anything will be affected by the trust system later on. Like, I don't know if you're going to need specific items to utilize trust. I don't know yet. We'll find out soon. But it'll be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting. But yeah, so I got to get a little bit more done in my crafting. You know, I'm almost a level 42 on my culinary, and I need to get this up as well. And like, but my goldsmith is 45 right now. So 45, right? So I'm getting up there with my crafting. My other ones are like in their 40s as well, but it's just diligent work. It's time consuming because why? You need materials. But once again, if you have money, you can buy materials, right? You can buy mats. So keep in mind, if you're crafting, you don't have to go ahead and dive into every form of crafting like me because it can be time consuming. But be aware of the costs associated, right? Cost association is very important for crafting. So a lot of the times, if you're looking just to make money, then gathering becomes your best time investment. But if you're looking to be more efficient towards your end game to get money, so for example, like the end game weapons are ridiculously priced because it takes a lot of mats to do it. They are making money off of it for sure. So for example, a friggin' 380 item. Now keep in mind 400's max. You can upgrade the item level to a 390. That's a 10-point difference if you use all crafted sets and you get the upgrade components. If you get upgrade on crafted, you can get to like a 390, I believe. But a 380, just a 380 is 400,000 in the 400,000 marks. And Samurai is almost $500,000 for their katanas. So that's a $500,000. So you don't need to be a crafter, but later down the road, it pays off. Now this is a high quality item too. So these crafters definitely put in the work, right? And then if you also are a crafter, you can have a chance to, you know, unlock that extra material slot. Which why some of that also becomes, they say it can become your best in slot depending on the craft and your chance of success. So keep this in mind when you're looking at crafting, you know, between crafting and progression in this game. Crafting is not, to me, this is one of these testaments to a game that I look for. How viable is the crafting? If the crafting isn't like, but in like DCUO, we didn't have crafting. It was all drop gear, but we had upgrading capabilities. So by, you know, oh, what the heck is that called? Modifying. We could modify things. So it's not a true form of crafting, but I enjoy DC's simplistic approach to application. Samurai is so good, dude. I love Samurai. And oh, by the way, you were asking yesterday, before I cut the stream, let me go ahead and go over this really quick as far as rotation. So I'll try to explain this as best as possible to the rotation. So you'll see my one bar, my bottom bar here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me actually do, I don't know if I have this enabled. I think the mouse is, yeah. But anyways, 1 through 12 here, which is the minus and this, is set up in it's almost like a sequence. So 1 is always going to be my opener. Let me go somewhere here. I know where I'll go. I need to find the city that has the target dummies. You can get a target dummy at your house too if you have it, but you can't get one in your apartment. Sucks. Sucks. Isn't there a... I could have swore there were target dummies around here, but that's only typically in major cities, but there's a Moogle. Moogles are so fucking evil. Okay. So 1 is always going to be an opener. And to the right, below my, above my achievement area here, you'll see my kin symbols and my sword, right? So basically, I want to build this all the way up to 3, but on the first one, I'm going to apply the dot, and this is what my 0 is for my combo. So let me go ahead and I'm going to just go up. Now, you'll see that 2 highlighted. Now I'm going to hit 0. Now my dot's applied. Want to hit 1 again. Now I'm going to follow up with 2 again. To start building up my kin again. But this time I'm going to hit 3. I'm going to follow up with 4. That's going to strike up. Now I go 5. I go 6. But it didn't, whatever. So now I'm going to follow. Now I've got 2 procced, right? So I don't want that to go to waste because my dot isn't there. Now I'm going to hit 0. And now that's going to throw that up, both my buff and my execution. Well, get off the rock. Oh, I'm going to get hit. It's fine. Let's hit a heal. Now see, my finisher set up, my buff set up, my dot throws just by hitting my 0 button. My finisher button. Same thing. So I go 2, 0. Throws the dot. It is a little winded. Follow back up with the 2, but this time I'm not going to skip. Follow up. Now I can go ahead with the 5 and then the 6. Have all my kin, and now my kin's set up. Okay. Now I can go ahead, hit the buff. Hit the 0 again. Once again, I want to keep that 2 and 3 combo up, so I'm building the kin. Now, if I see my my Aga up, I can go ahead and execute that, because keep in mind, it's in the beginning of my macro. So I can only hit, without blowing my kin, my kinky, I can just hit it once and use the Aga, or hit it manually. But that's why it's put into the macro. Now, if you go like this, you want to remember where you left off in the rotation. So 5, 6, I'm going to pass through, turn around, buff up, and then just hit the button once. So I've set up the macro to be more efficient. Now you'll see also that quick leap out I had, and then I can close in the gap. Now I can hit the Aga just by hitting it once. And hit it twice, and now it's going to utilize the finisher. Now if I need a heal, I can go ahead and just hit my back button. This macro right here. I don't know if I went over the Sam heal macro. But let me go over the Sam macro heal. I like to keep this one also set up on my bar. So the Sam macro heal, Merciful Eyes, macro icon, Merciful Eyes, action, Bloodbath. That keeps me in the combat while I'm just, it gives me a quick heal for the damage. Merciful Eyes me, action, second wind me. So there's the Bloodbath, there's the second wind. You need to have your Kinky gauge up to utilize the heal, the self heal. So keep that in mind. And Kinky will cost. So, you know, it's another reason why we have the meditate set into the rotation. But you have to be in combat for meditate to hit. So that's why it's set to the third bar. So we've already established combat. Now, sometimes when I see this, I'll just hit. Now I can go throughout the rotation again. And if I needed to back up, then I can back up, use Gaioten, close in. Back up again. See what I did with that macro? Once again, we're going to go 5 and 6 if the buff isn't up. Hit the 0, we get our buff. We throw our big one. Use the Aga. There you have it. Now, there is like a little slight delay for the finisher. So, let me go into the user macro, for example, which is, let me see. So, the weight 0.1. The reason you have to have a weight to it, and it's only a 0.1, but you'll notice it. So it's set to the top. Now you could put Aga here. So for example, I could switch this around. So let me give you an example here. Like I can drop this. Then I can use my Aga here instead. Remove this bar. And now we can just have the one between the Ijitsu. And then you can see how that's going to play out. Now see what I did? I put that finisher up, so I would make that recommendation. And then I can use the improved MPI. There you have it. It's very controllable, especially on a controller, pun intended, I guess. Even though it's very, the way I set my macros up is to make it controllable. And you have to know what you're doing. There does take a set of skill to calculate or to make the most efficient rotation to the macro system. But once you know how to do it, and you can I encourage people to experiment. If you're wanting to try something with your macro, feel free to experiment with it. That's a nice thing with macros. When you become more familiarized with how to set up a proper macros, then you can make your rotation more optimal, especially if you're on a controller and you have limited configurations, or without having to keep swapping out the bar. So that's kind of very important. But once you get that adjusted and you figure out little tricks of the trade, you're typically going to be good. Like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of even vet players don't really understand how to macro properly. And even for a player like me who's used macros for years, there might be something that I've missed in my configuration. But you definitely don't. You always want to make sure you're a little curious about how. Don't, like, my recommendation is the same as everybody else. Don't combo up on the macro on a macro. I tried it just to see, what the big deal was, and it's clunky. It's really bad. Like I feel like that was one of those things that you were like, oh my god, okay. Once again, buff. I hope this helps, by the way, me demonstrating the button configuration. So once again, I use the dot. I'm going to hit the 2 again. I'm going to hit up. You'll see the proc. I follow up with the 3. The 4 will then highlight. I follow up with the 4. Then I go into the sequence to the 5. So then I can just go ahead, gap close. We know what we're setting on the 5 rotation. Now I can go ahead, hit my circle, get the buff, follow through. Now I can hit it again for a finisher. And there we have it. It runs smooth. This macro system runs very smooth. So I would make that recommendation into the finishing aspect of the macro. Just because, I hit it manually, but if you're on a controller, you would want the AGA up there on the top. So macro icon, Aijutsu, action, AGA, then action, Hizatsu, Kaiten, Mi, wait, 0.1. Right? You want to wait because it'll keep firing. You have to have it because this will just auto cast. It's to set the self buff, right? It's to set this buff. So you get a 1 second wait. So when you cast it, it's going to wait 1 second. You'll see your sword twirl, and then you'll utilize the finisher, the associated finisher. All right, which is right here. Your Aijutsu, depending on the kinky or the procs of the gauges initiated. Okay? So I feel like, and once again, I think that's another reason why it's probably my favorite Samurai. Because I was like, oh, wait till I macro this bitch. I'm like, wait till I macro this bitch. I can already see how the rotation works, right? I mean, it has a very powerful, very fast-paced element with, keeps with busy work. And I'm like, but optimal, configuration is how I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set this up to optimal layout without having to juggle. So that's the way I set it up. Just to optimize the rotation without juggling unnecessarily. So this is probably, I played around with the macro for hours one day. Just, trying to make sure every little thing, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to little things like that. how to optimize the effectiveness of my macros. So it takes skill. It's a skill set. It is a skill set when you're coming out with how to optimize a rotation and make it efficient as possible. So some people don't like macros. Hey, if you want to go through 40 different buttons, be my guest. I'd rather go through 12. So if you want to push 40 buttons, be my guest. And if you feel like your timing's good and you don't slip up, that's your choice. There's key bindings. You can key bind. But for me personally, if I have 40 buttons at my disposal and I can macro a few to better spend make my time a little bit easier between the rotation, yeah, I'll do it every time. And I'll make sure it's the best way I can get it for myself. And if people can benefit from that, awesome. I used to do that in my guilds too. I would be the macro writer. Like, I would write all the macros for everybody's classes. There was a friend of mine who also was helping with that. So, like, there was like only 2 of us that was writing the entire macros, like, for my one game I was playing. And we were like just going at it with the macros. Now, this is not a guild associated with my other friends that I played for years. This was an elite group that we did HK, we did River of Souls, we did Green Blight, we did Maul, we did all of those things, and we were a little Phoenix, and we were just little asshats. But I wrote the macros for classes, except my one dude. He pretty much picked up his own macros. He was pretty good at adjusting to the macro configurations. So, but yeah, that's how, like, I spend a lot of time writing macros. I really enjoy games with macro systems if they're turn-based. If they're turn-based and they don't have a macro, I kind of like, I just, whatever. But anyways, man, I'm going to let you guys go. David, thank you for stopping in. Scott, thank you for stopping in. Jack, thank you for stopping in. And if you guys don't know who Irish Mage is, please go check this man out. He is a fellow content creator. I do encourage everybody to be supportive of one another. And he's been putting out some pretty cool content, from Final Fantasy XIV. Plus, he has a few things from Elder Scrolls when he played Elder Scrolls. So feel free to check him out. I would tell any of you guys, he is, like, his Yes video. I love that video. I love it. I've watched it like probably 10, 15 times, like whatever. Like, I've seen it like more than once. I could tell you. I'm like, yes. So go check it out. All right. Once again, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. And as always, thank you. Have a nice day.